I was able to find this whole part shipped to my door for $430 with the motor. And I use a little rubbing alcohol. Welcome back to another episode of Broken Mirror, guys. If you've been following along, then I said in the last episode, we're gonna work on the Kia. If you've been here for probably 10 episodes or more, you know that previously when I bought this Kia, we went through and found out that there's a code P200A. And doing some research on the internet, that code shows that the actuator motor is shot on the intake manifold. In that episode, we ended up taking out the motor and finding that there's a plastic knuckle that tends to break from the motor to the plenum, and it was broken. So we ended up super gluing it, putting it back together. But upon the drive all the way over here to the new house, that code did not reset and actually put pending back onto the code scanner. So that means it's still having an issue. Now I started doing some research and people are recommending to replace the whole thing, the whole entire intake manifold and all of its components. And that's about $600, $630 from the dealership and about $430, $450 offline. So before I spend $500 plus or minus, I first want to take this thing all the way out and make sure that there's nothing else that could be broken on this. So I'm gonna get started with that. See you guys in a bit. It's the next day. I ended up getting off the intake manifold, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but once I took this thing off, it was basically pouring oil out of the intake manifold, which to me means I might need a new PCV valve. I'm gonna check this thing out. I'm also going to test the variable valve timing solenoid since that was my other code. I wanna make sure that the ohm resistance, just like I did on the Tucson, is good and that there is easy fluctuation in the valves. I'm gonna do all that. But upon doing some research and watching some YouTube videos, the few guys that have done this and replaced the entire intake manifold in the system and it comes with the motor. Those who replaced the whole thing just put it in and the codes went away. Turns out the motor for my particular intake manifold is about $270. I was able to find this whole part shipped to my door for $430 with the motor. So for about a $150 increase, I got the entire piece. Now I know none of these evap hoses or anything of that sort will be bad on my intake manifold. Probably gonna be here next week, so we'll probably do it in the next episode. But with that said, I ended up running to the paint store today because I want to do the handles. I wanna have an actual handle to my car instead of a busted one. Now, unfortunately, this rear driver's side as well needs to be replaced. There's some bad chipping. So I'm gonna paint both of these sides. The passenger side seems to be okay. But when I ran to the store, I got some perfect paint match, got some primer and some 2K clear. So that's my goal for today. I'm gonna get after it. See you in a bit. All right guys, it is the next day. I ended up checking the variable valve timing solenoid and it checked out good as far as ohm resistance and the actual moving of it using the battery. I also checked out the PCV valve. It seals going one way and then opens the other, so that's good. That's all sorted. I ended up primering the handles and I think you saw me take out all the door trim. The next thing I want to do is sand these down quick, probably throw another coat of primer on them just to be safe. And then I want to start taking off the headlights to be painted, along with the Audis, especially while I have the bumper off the Audi, because I don't think I can take these off with the bumper on. So I'm gonna get started. See you guys in a bit. All right, it has been almost 5 hours since I last spoke to you. There was a lot of sanding involved, but this one headlight had so much old clear coat of someone trying to fix this prior. It was just a lot of sanding, almost an hour, maybe two on just this headlight. And for those of you that are wondering how I do this, I go 500, 1200, 1500, 2000, then 3000 pad. And I think I might even go to a 5000 pad because it's close, but I feel like it could be almost perfect with a 5000 pad. But anyway, so that was the headlights. I ended up tackling the handles as well, but I'm not sure how good they're doing. Overall, they look pretty good right now, but they definitely have to flash for a little bit and dry before I do the next coat. But I think the final thing I want to do in this episode is at the very least start prepping this hood, but I want to start sanding them down. I think I'm also going to try to take the trim off because I think it'd be easier to paint the whole top of this roof instead of just like sections. And then there's a spot down here on the fender that I want to tackle as well. Anyway, we'll see what happens. I'm going to get started on the roof. See you guys in a bit. All right, I am done sanding. I was trying to sand lightly, but I ended up burning through the paint. There wasn't much there. So I ended up cutting right through the actual color into the primer a few times. The other thing, I think I showed you a little piece of tape, and I found out that this car has definitely been painted. Yeah, so I think you guys can see the difference between these two reds. This one's slightly darker, this one's slightly more orange. So this side of the car has been painted. I ended up getting this little spot in the bumper. And what I wanted to do was to start painting these and clear coat everything. And I realized I don't have any masking tape, but I am very happy with how all these headlights came out. Just the fact that you can see through to all the chrome. And there's a pretty neat trick to see whether it's going to be clear. And I use a little rubbing alcohol. You can kind of see how good the lens is going to turn out just by making it a little wet. And because I'm not gonna be able to paint this today, I think I am gonna grab the 5000 little foam pad and try to really get these things to pop nice, all four of them. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for this episode, guys. Next episode, we'll be doing the intake manifold, finishing the paint, hopefully wrapping this thing up. But anyway, until then, I hope you guys had a Merry Christmas and I hope you have a Happy New Year. See you then.